Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into something so many of us, well, dream about doing, but maybe feel a little intimidated by.
Learning a new language.
Exactly. You might picture yourself, navigating a busy market somewhere new or connecting with family history.
Or just finally watching those movies without subtitles.
Totally. It's a powerful goal, right?
Yeah.
But maybe also, where do you even begin? It can feel huge.
Oh, it's incredibly common to feel overwhelmed. I mean, the sheer volume of vocabulary, the grammar rules.
Yeah, just figuring out where to start and how to keep going.
It stops a lot of people before they even really get going. It's a shame.
And that's exactly why this deep dive is, I think, so valuable. Our source material today is a really comprehensive guide to language learning.
Like a roadmap, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. It offers a clear path through the whole process. So our mission here is to pull out the absolute most crucial insights from this guide.
Giving you practical steps.
And hopefully, the confidence to actually start your own language journey.
Oh.
And stick around because, honestly, there's some genuinely eye-opening ideas in here that might challenge how you think about learning languages.
Yeah, let's explore what this guide has to say. It's got some interesting takes.
So the guide starts right at the core. Not with vocabulary lists or grammar drills, but with the powerful why.
Right. It frames language learning as fundamentally about connection.
Connection. That's interesting. More than just words.
Definitely. What's fascinating here is the guide's perspective that language isn't just a tool for, passing information back and forth.
Okay.
It's how we share our deepest ideas, our emotions, even our very way of seeing the world. The guide describes each language as like a unique window into a different consciousness.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. So it's not just swapping words.
No, it's understanding a whole different perspective. And the guide gets quite specific here. It argues that learning a new language actually begins to sort of rewire your brain.
Rewire your brain. How so?
Well, it builds empathy because you're literally engaging with another culture on its own terms. When you speak someone's language, even if it's imperfectly, you create this instant bridge of trust and understanding. It's quite remarkable.
And beyond that deeper connection, the guide also lays out some pretty compelling practical benefits too, doesn't it? Like actual cognitive boosts.
Absolutely. The guide points to research showing how language learning sharpens your memory.
Okay.
Significantly boosts problem-solving skills and creativity. And it might even play a role in delaying age-related cognitive decline.
That's huge.
And of course, in a world that's more connected than ever, it opens real, concrete doors for travel, for your career, personal relationships.
Yeah, the practical side is undeniable. But there's also this really encouraging point the guide makes right here, isn't there? About talent.
Yes, this is so important. You don't need some special language gene or, inherent genius.
That's a relief for many of us, I bet.
That's the key takeaway, really. The guide is adamant that natural brilliance isn't the main thing. Success comes down to having a smart, systematic approach.
Okay, a smart approach, not just raw talent.
And that leads directly into the next crucial piece of the puzzle, according to this guide.
Which is?
Well, one of the biggest reasons people get stuck or just give up is starting without a clear sense of purpose.
The classic motivation killer. You're all excited at first, but then the daily grind hits.
Exactly that. Without a defined why, that initial enthusiasm, it just vanishes when the going gets tough, which it inevitably does.
Right.
So the guide strongly advises pausing right at the beginning and asking yourself, very specifically, why this language? What do I actually want to do with it?
And the guide gives some good examples for figuring out the why, right?
Yeah, is it purely for travel? Maybe for a specific job opportunity? Or connecting with your family heritage?
Or maybe it's just, to finally understand the lyrics of your favorite K-pop group.
Or read a certain book in its original form. It could be anything.
But the guide stresses making that purpose specific and measurable. That seems key.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of a vague goal like, I want to learn Spanish.
Which is where most people probably start.
Right. Make it tangible. Something like, I want to be able to have a 5-minute conversation about my day in Spanish within 6 months.
Or, I want to understand the plot of a simple kids show in a year. Something you can actually track.
Exactly. Making it concrete gives you something specific to work towards and, importantly, to measure your progress against.
That makes a lot of sense.
Keeps you focused.
Precisely. And the guide has a simple but really powerful tip here. Write that purpose down.
Just write it down.
Yep. Put it somewhere you'll see it often. Revisit it, especially on those days when you feel discouraged or stuck. That clear why is basically your most potent fuel when motivation dips. It reminds you what you're working for.
Okay, so once you've nailed down your why, the guide moves into the actual building phase. It uses this analogy of construction. Right, like building a house. You need a solid foundation first. You wouldn't start with the fancy roof tiles.
Makes sense. So what does the guide say to start laying that foundation?
It emphasizes starting with the most frequently used words and phrases, the absolute essential building blocks of the language.
And this is where the guide offers that, well, genuinely surprising statistic. It feels like a massive shortcut, almost.
It really does. You don't need to learn tens of thousands of words right off the bat to become functional.
So what's the number?
The guide states that mastering just the top 1,000 most common words in most languages
Just 1,000.
can unlock understanding for about 80% of typical daily conversations.
80%. From just 1,000 words.
Wow. Think about that. It dramatically lowers that initial, often intimidating barrier.
Okay, so how do you find those top 1,000 words?
The guide recommends prioritizing categories like basic greetings, essential verbs, to be, to go, to have, to want, numbers, days of the week, colors.
Family terms too, probably.
Family terms, yeah, and absolutely crucial survival phrases. Things like, where is the bathroom? Or how much does this cost? The real basics.
Got it. And for actually learning and memorizing this core vocabulary, what tools does the guide suggest?
It points to some classic tools, maybe with a modern twist, like flashcards, sure, but it particularly highlights apps that use spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition? What's that?
It's a learning technique. Apps like Anki, Quizlet, or Memrise are mentioned because they use algorithms to show you words or phrases right around the time you're statistically likely to forget them.
Ah, so it interrupts the forgetting process.
Exactly. It's incredibly effective for lodging things in your long-term memory.
Okay, that's useful. But there's another critical piece of advice here. The guide really stresses something often overlooked.
Yes, and this is non-negotiable according to the guide. You have to speak the words out loud from day one.
Out loud, even if you're just learning your first few words.
Absolutely. It's not just about passive input like reading or listening. You need to actively train your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords to make the sounds.
So it's physical memory, too.
Precisely. Making the sounds, feeling the physical act of speaking, is fundamental for cementing those words and phrases in your memory. Don't just look or listen, speak, even if it feels silly at first.
Okay, speak from day one. That actually flows perfectly into the next big point, doesn't it? What the guide considers a major hurdle.
Yes, this is a big one. Waiting until you feel ready to actually speak to another person.
That feeling of, oh, I need to know more before I try.
Exactly. And the guide's bold, maybe its most important message here is, you are ready now.
You are ready now.
Where?
Wow, that's quite a statement, especially when so many people feel nervous about sounding silly or making mistakes.
It's a total reframe, and the guide suggests ways to overcome that initial fear.
Like what? How do you start speaking if you're terrified?
It says to start in zero-pressure environments. Literally, talk to yourself in the mirror. Speak the new words or phrases to your pet. Your dog won't judge your pronunciation.
So,
whisper sentences to yourself while you're walking around, record your voice on your phone, and just listen back privately.
so you get used to hearing yourself without any audience pressure.
Exactly. It helps you identify areas to work on without any judgment, just getting the sounds out.
And then once you're maybe a bit more comfortable talking to yourself or your goldfish, what's the next step?
The guide's next big recommendation is finding a language partner.
Okay, someone to actually practice with. Where do you find them?
Well, it points to platforms designed specifically for this. Apps like HelloTalk or Tandem are mentioned.
How do those work?
They connect you with native speakers of your target language who are learning your native language. So you can do a language exchange, help each other out.
That sounds really useful. A two-way street.
It is. And the guide also mentions sites like italki, where you can find affordable tutors for more structured practice if you prefer that.
So the core idea here really is that fluency isn't some destination you arrive at before you start talking.
Absolutely not.
It's something you build through the act of speaking, mistakes and all.
That's precisely it. The guide emphasizes that making mistakes isn't a sign of failure. It's an absolutely essential, unavoidable part of the learning process.
So embrace the errors.
Embrace the errors. Every stumble, every fumbled sentence is actually a learning opportunity in disguise. You simply have to speak to get better at speaking. There's no way around it.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. There's this common assumption, isn't there, that to really learn a language, you need to move to the country where it's spoken, full immersion.
Yes, that's a big one. The I need to live in Spain to learn Spanish idea.
But the guide actually pushes back on that myth quite strongly.
It does. It argues you don't necessarily need a plane ticket to create an immersive environment. You can do a lot right from home.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How? What are these practical strategies for home immersion?
Well, some are surprisingly simple, like changing the language settings on your phone or your computer.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one. Constant exposure.
Exactly. Following native speakers, artists, or news sources from that country on your social media feeds.
So your scrolling time becomes learning time.
Kind of, yeah. Watching movies or TV shows is another big one. Start maybe with subtitles in your own language, then switch to subtitles in the target language, and eventually try watching without any subtitles at all, even if you don't catch everything.
Just absorbing the sounds and rhythm.
And listening to music, podcasts, or audiobooks in the target language during everyday activities.
Like when you're commuting or cooking or cleaning.
Exactly. The goal is to weave the language into the fabric of your daily life, so it's not just confined to those dedicated study times.
Make it ambient. I remember one really simple, almost brilliant technique the guide mentioned for this. Labeling stuff.
Yes, that's such a great tip. Putting little sticky notes with the target language word on everyday objects around your house.
Like la porta on your door, la silla on your chair.
Le frigo on your fridge, whatever it is. It's this constant passive reminder that helps you absorb vocabulary in context almost without realizing you're studying.
It turns your environment into a learning tool.
Precisely. You start to passively absorb patterns and meanings just by seeing the words all the time.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about choosing resources?
Yeah.
You start looking online and it's just overwhelming. Apps, textbooks, websites, tutors.
Oh, completely. It's like a fire hose of options. Where do you even begin choosing?
It feels like you could spend weeks just researching tools instead of learning.
And the guide offers a really grounding perspective here. It basically says, look, while there are lots of good tools out there, agonizing over finding the single best one is often counterproductive.
So don't chase the perfect app.
Pretty much. Consistency in using a tool that worked for you is infinitely more important than finding the theoretically perfect tool, but then barely using it.
That takes a lot of the pressure off, actually. Find something decent and stick with it.
Exactly, and the guide does helpfully categorize some types of resources and give examples, which can be a good starting point.
Okay, like what?
Well, for beginners, it mentions gamified apps like Duolingo makes it feel like a game. More structured apps like Babbel, which tend to focus more on practical grammar and real-world conversation scenarios.
Right.
And then tools like LinkQ, which are great for learning through reading and listening to authentic native content right from the start.
What about audio learners? People who prefer listening.
Yeah, it points to resources like the Coffee Break Languages podcast series. They have loads of languages.
Okay.
Language Transfer is another interesting one. It focuses on breaking down grammar logically through audio. And Pimsleur, which is well known for its audio repetition method, really focusing on pronunciation and listening comprehension.
And for reading practice, it's not just textbooks.
No, definitely not. It suggests starting simple children's books are great. Short stories, maybe parallel texts where you have the original language and your native language side by side.
That sounds helpful.
And it also highlights tools that make reading easier, like the built-in reader in LinkQ, or browser extensions like ReadLang that let you instantly look up words while reading articles online.
So really, the core advice is experiment a bit, find something that clicks with your learning style, and that you actually find engaging.
And then just commit to using it regularly. Don't keep switching constantly. Find your groove and stick with it.
Which brings us perfectly to what the guide suggests is maybe the real secret sauce.
Ah, yes, the habit.
Making language learning a daily habit, not just something you do when you feel like it.
This is so crucial. The guide makes a really strong case that short, consistent sessions, even just 15 or 20 minutes a day, are significantly more effective in the long run.
More effective than, say, cramming for 3 hours on a Saturday.
Way more effective, yes. Because our brains process and retain information best through regular spaced repetition. Little and often beats infrequent binges.
So consistency trumps intensity.
Absolutely. The guide suggests finding ways to weave it into your existing daily routine.
How so? Like scheduling it in?
Kind of. Maybe listen to a short podcast snippet during your morning commute. Do a few flashcards during your lunch break. Spend 15 minutes in the evening reviewing what you learned or trying to write a couple of sentences.
Make it a non-negotiable part of your day.
Exactly. Treat it like brushing your teeth. It's just something you do every day, even if just for a short time.
And the guide mentions tracking that habit, right? Like using streaks in an app.
Yeah, or just putting a check mark on a calendar, those little things. Tracking your streak, maybe giving yourself small rewards for hitting milestones can really help maintain that habit and keep motivation high.
Building momentum through consistency. Makes sense.
Okay, now let's talk about something the guide acknowledges is pretty much inevitable. Something every single language learner bumps up against eventually.
Oh boy. What's that?
Hitting plateaus.
Ah, yes. That frustrating feeling where you suddenly feel like you're not improving anymore, maybe even feel like you're going backwards.
Exactly that feeling. It happens to everyone. And the guide really normalizes this. It's not just you, it's part of the process.
So it doesn't mean you're failing.
Not at all. The guide explains that often when you hit a plateau, you're not actually stuck in the way you think. You might be transitioning to a deeper level of understanding.
Deeper level. How?
Well, your brain isn't just passively adding new words anymore. It's working hard behind the scenes to integrate everything you've learned, grammar, vocab, pronunciation, into smoother, more intuitive usage.
So it's like consolidation.
Exactly. It's a hidden phase of consolidation, which is precisely why it feels slow or like nothing's happening on the surface.
Okay, that's actually reassuring, but it still feels frustrating. So what does the guide offer as strategies for pushing through those moments?
It suggests shaking things up a bit. Change your routine.
Right.
If you've been hammering away at one app, maybe try a different one for a week. Find a new language partner with different interests. Try a completely new type of resource, like reading comics instead of news article.
Introduce novelty.
Introduce novelty, yeah. And also, set tiny, almost ridiculously small micro goals.
Like what?
Like, today I will learn just 5 new words, or I will say one complete sentence out loud to my pet, or I will try to understand just one line of this song. Small, achievable wins.
Break it down really small.
Exactly. And another powerful thing is to consciously revisit old material.
Go back to the beginning.
Not necessarily the very beginning, but look back at lessons or notes from a few weeks or months ago. You'll likely be surprised at how much easier it seems now. It's a tangible reminder of how far you've actually come.
That's a good motivational trick. See your own progress.
It really is. And the guide frames this plateau moment as critical. It's often the point where most learners get discouraged and quit.
The danger zone.
Pretty much. So recognizing it, understanding it's normal, and having a few strategies to just gently shake things up are absolutely key to persevering and eventually breaking through to the next level of fluency.
Okay, so push through the plateaus. What about celebrating progress? It's easy to focus on how far you still have to go.
That's a great point. And instead of getting fixated on some distant, maybe vaguely defined goal like fluency, the guide strongly advises focusing on and actively celebrating the small wins.
The small, everyday achievements.
Yes, this is so crucial for maintaining your motivation and keeping perspective. Shift your attention to the progress you're making today or this week.
Like finally understanding a sentence you didn't get before.
Exactly. Or remembering a tricky word that always used to trip you up.
Or managing to have even just a 30-second exchange with someone without freezing up.
Yes. The guide calls these vital milestones. Don't brush them off. And it suggests practical ways to track and acknowledge them.
How?
Maybe keep a simple journal. Just jot down one new thing you learned or understood each week. Note how many words you've added to your flashcard deck if you're using one.
Oh, I like the idea of recording yourself too.
Yes. Periodically record yourself speaking, maybe reading a short text, or just talking about your day. Then listen back a month later. You will almost certainly hear the progress, even if you don't feel it day to day.
That's tangible proof. Every little step forward builds momentum, doesn't it?
It really does. And it reinforces that you are indeed learning and growing, even when it feels slow. Celebrate those steps.
Okay. So we've covered a lot. The why, the foundation, speaking, immersion, tools, habits, plateaus, small wins. Is there one final piece, like an ultimate secret?
Well, perhaps the most profound insight the guide shares, what you might call the ultimate secret, is about integrating language learning into your actual identity.
Into your identity. What exactly does that mean in this context, making it who you are?
Sort of, yeah. It's about shifting your mindset moving away from viewing language learning as just another task on your to-do list, something you have to do, and instead starting to see it as part of who you are becoming. You're not just someone learning French, you are becoming a French speaker.
It's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Like actively telling yourself, I am a Spanish speaker, even as a beginner, or I'm becoming fluent in Japanese.
Right, exactly. The guide argues that when you consciously adopt this identity, even when you're just starting out and making tons of mistakes, the whole process starts to feel different.
How so?
It feels less like a chore you have to force yourself to do, and more like, well, just naturally living your life as this person who engages with this language.
It makes it more natural, maybe more enjoyable.
More natural, more enjoyable, and crucially, far more sustainable over the long haul. It reframes the effort as growth, not just work.
Wow, that's actually a really powerful idea. Becoming the person who speaks the language.
It ties everything together in a way.
So there you have it. We've really covered the ground let out in this guide, from finding your powerful why
to setting that clear purpose, building the solid foundation with core vocabulary.
Speaking from day one, even if it's just whispering to yourself.
Creating that immersion bubble right at home, choosing the tools that actually work for you.
The absolute necessity of building that daily practice habit.
Recognizing and knowing how to push through those inevitable plateaus.
Celebrating every single small win along the way.
And finally, making language learning a fundamental part of your identity.
Phew. It's quite a journey, but this guide really does provide a comprehensive roadmap, doesn't it?
It really does. You have the strategies now. You basically have the blueprint.
All that's left now, really, is for you, the listener, to take that very first step, maybe even today.
Absolutely. And as the guide reminds us, the goal isn't immediate perfection. That's impossible.
It's about consistent progress, word by word, conversation by conversation.
Day by day. Just keep showing up.
And maybe, if we zoom out for a second, consider that beautiful final thought the guide leaves us with. How learning languages isn't just about, personal gain or ticking a box.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah. It's about making the world feel a little smaller, maybe a little richer, and ultimately more connected.
By allowing you to directly engage with more people, understand a wider array of human experiences and perspectives.
It's a gift, really. A gift you give yourself.
And maybe, in a small way, a gift you give to the world, too. Something to think about.